O Namo Manjo Shri Ye Nama Zo Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Zo Ha O Namo Manjo Shri Ye Nama Zo Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Zo Ha O Namo Manjo Shri Ye Nama Zo Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Zo Ha Ye Jena Zogi Jona La Ju Bandu Nam Ye Gyab Zuji Dagi Chunye Gibe Chonang Ji Jola Benje Sangye Juba Ju Chedan Zogi Chona La Janju Badu Nam Ye Gyab Zuji Nangi Jola Benje Sangye Juba Ju Chedan Zogi Chona La Janju Badu Nam Ye Gyab Zuji Dagi Chunye Gibe Chonang Ji Jola Benje Sangye Juba Ju Begi Juji Medo Zhang, Girali Shini De Tenpa Di, Samji Shindo Midim Va Yi, Rogi Nanda Shila Jeba Shu, Guru Rana Mendala Kandiya Thaya Yumi.
Dungwajina is injected at Tangi Dagi Cindy, Manashi Cutting Chimuchata, Yamamaji, Machicha, Mashibara, Tangi Majama, in the Tijiji Madina, Dewa, along the Koroji, doing Bahino, the Diga, Kijam, Tijiji Madina, Dewa, the Diju, give a piece of Dina Chim, Demba Chili, Demba, the Shini Balama, and Shinjina. What does it mean by Chini Chamago is?
Please adjust your sitting posture according to the 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. Think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mother in this life. Even though all kind mothers and sentient beings want happiness and do not even want a small suffering. However, due to mistakenly engaging with objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our mind, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mothers and sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mothers and sentient beings were to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness that are virtues. May they have excellent happiness and its causes. I will cause them to have excellent happiness and its causes. Dhamma deity, please bless me to be able to do so.
Dungwajina is injected at home, she made a Dungaji Jumu, Jumu, Trewa, the Vesha, the Shini, Lamala, Shinjila, so what does it mean by Injections?
Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtues. May they be free from all suffering and its causes. I will cause them to be free from all suffering and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so.
Dungwajina is injected at home, she called them a super Dungaji, the super Nera project, the Nikas and other Sanji, the other one was the Sanjila. This is a 20 Sanji comparable to what is in the Vajinicha to say.
Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms? I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. Even though I should take the responsibility, I do not have the ability to place them in the state of perfect, complete enlightenment now. Who has such ability? Only those perfect, complete Buddhas have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment.
대제에서 다분이랑 이 기대 타대 강대야 모두랑 이 지금 동안이 사람 동물의 출산당했어.
Next, we meditate on the meaning of emptiness for a short while. The self and the aggregates neither exist as inherently one nor inherently different, thus is empty of inherent existence.
대제에서 그로 줘도 희생제 탄지 되는 성지 공부도 대체로 다음이 최신 안에 지금 지는 희생제는 근데
Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this, I will listen to the holy teachings and practice properly in order to benefit sentient beings.
아주 들이대 gendik 근저도 마시가레스 gendik 근저도 나 같이 추 근저도 시사로와 나 추 근저도 시사에 대 이제서 막 gendik 근저도 나 시에 요새 가르치나 나 추 근저도 나 같이 쉬는 추 근저도 담보 쓰는 것도 사진이 추지 콜로고 생각와 추지 콜로 추지 콜로고 추지 콜로고니 때때 냐서는 게 때 gendik 근저 아비 gendik 근저 그래서 대하고야지 대리 바되다 또 제도 때까지 리모트다 대고야 좋아 최근적 계속 견디근적 시야돼 최근적 농구 최근적 대 년발라 뛰네 내년에 지내 동반지 되면서 또 밥이 견디근적 되겠어
nhắm lên trên này kiến quân cho 용기 어로.
제발 최근적으로 되네 대바 될라티네 냐레지네 동반지 되면서도 가디 또스나 밥이 견디근적 이 작업을 했을 때 림바는 상태에서 최근적 제스 견디근적 시야돼
So today we are going to talk about the Sangha jewel. So Sangha jewel, according to the order, the Sangha jewel is explained after the Dharma jewel, because previously when we talk about the order of the three jewels, then we explain that after becoming enlightened, then turn the wheel of Dharma. So and by listening to the scriptural teaching, then one engaged in the practice, and whenever one directly realizes the meaning of emptiness, one becomes an Arya, one becomes a Sangha jewel. So therefore, according to this order, the Sangha jewel is explained after the Dharma jewel.
다들 얼마 가서 디시에가 당가서 주라고 가디마 자와드만 대바이나 세계상 유에서는 영웅 메시피 완단로도 다음에 다시 양다 또네 tran제라 조비 상지 지슈 시바 주가 메지로나와 생제는 파이지 이시싱을 되는 디스 어디 이슈로가 기지마
Then we come to page 59, the root verse. It says, as the mind is in the nature of clear light, they perceive the entitylessness of afflictions, and therefore perfectly realize the pacifications of the extremes of selflessness of all my creators. I bow down to those who perceive complete Buddhahood in all, who are endowed with unobscured intelligence, and who have the realizations of exalted wisdom that holds as its object the purity of infinite living beings.
윤리 제다 되게 밥이 견디고 강사 된바 되게 생각들이 와 윤리 제다 된게 밥이 되고 좋네 강사 되다 가다 윤리로 와 윤리에 와 윤리 취취 항상 윤리 제다 되게 셔서 밥이 되다 되라
So basically, this verse talks about the Arya Sangha jewel who possess the 8 qualities. So, for example, an Arya Bodhisattva. So the eight qualities are knowing modes, knowing varieties, inner knowledge, freedom from obscurations of attachment, freedom from obscurations of obstruction, freedom from inferior obscurations or the obscurations of inferiority, and they are generally enumerated as two, which is knowledge and liberation. So these are the eight qualities. So regarding these eight qualities possessed by an Arya Sangha jewel, then we have explained it before. Yeah, so regarding the first quality, the quality of knowing the mode. So here it talks about modes refers to the selflessness of phenomena and the selflessness of a person. So selflessness of phenomena and the selflessness of person. So these phenomena and persons are the basis of emptiness. So these two are the basis of emptiness. And it says they do not abide even for, they do not remain even for a second. So they do not remain even for a second, or they do not abide even for a second, means that they keep changing. So from the perspective of being a conditioned phenomena, so we are changing momentarily. So just like a person, for example, a person then from a previous life and come to these lives, then phenomena, they also go through the momentarily momentarily changes. So the first quality of knowing the modes, basically, it means that it refers to a direct realizations of non-inherent existence of phenomena and person.
풍부 취지 담에로 풍부 된 담에 취지 담에 샤고와 그래서 간사가 담에다 취지 담에서 뒤체바데 동신원을 샤고되마도 가샤라 체바 요 말을 그러와 되게 왔습니다. 다 풍부 되는 이것은 풍부로도 풍부로 된 거죠. 풍부 때가 풍부로 이제 맞도 동화대 취지 담에로 와 간사로 이제 동화대 다 간사리 담에서 어디 다 담에 있는 것은 또 이시에서 근데 도도시네 수 디바이나 고단자 담에 있는 것은 또 이 상세 범위지 이시데 왜 간다 제타와리 이데
So the first quality, the quality of knowing the mode. So in brief, basically it refers to, for example, if we say the subject, an Arya Bodhisattva, so his exalted wisdom directly realizing the selflessness of person and phenomena, so is the quality of knowing the modes. So, so when we talk about the selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena, so you may wonder when we talk about the selflessness of aggregates, so aggregates is included within phenomena. So these two, persons and phenomena, so they are just a different, they are perceived from the perspective of different basis of emptiness, and in terms of objects of negations, there is no difference at all. So the only difference is they are different basis of emptiness, and in terms of objects of negations, there is no difference at all.
다들이 담이니 제타와 시비 주대 가르스 나디 시오도와 담이니 제타와 무슨도 시비 주대 가르스나 다 생제랑 주대 왜사이 그 이제 tombato es
무슨도 또베
주대와 또베 시그레스 담에 무슨 또 그래서와
시베 규대로
시비 주대 가르스나 그 세대랑 이제 왜사이 세랑 이제 tombato 그래서 와 세랑 이제 왜사 와서 그 세랑 이제 tombato 와다 그 뉴무랑 이제 주대 뭐요 말이지 뉴무랑 이제 뭐 maybe 여기 주비 뭐 never see what is 간다
심기랑신
뉴무랑 이제 주비 뭐 never see what is
용몽기랑
뉴무랑 이제 주비 뭐 뉴무랑 이제 주비 뭐 never see what 손상 그 되는 뭐라 되네 왜 간다 또 말이지 다음에
심랑시 동바 시바당 용몽랑신기 주베 뭐 매바 시장 데 균이디로 Yeah. So then, what are the causes for the perception, for the direct perceptions of the modes, which is the two selflessnesses? Then the causes are, the first one is the mind is in the nature of the mind is in. The mind is in the nature of clear light. So this is one translation, and another translation for this is the mind is naturally luminous. Which is the mind is the mind is empty of inherent existence. So this 심랑신 이외에 was it turned out this 심랑신 동바로. 규칙래. 심랑신 이외에 와 심랑신이 동바. 세 규 당보래.
주대고 그래서 세상 이제 왜서 완전 동바도야. 동바도야.
심기랑신.
세계상 이외에서 와서 그 세계상 길을 도망가서 그 세상 이제 좀 동바도야.
심장신기
주비 동바도야.
심장신기 주비 동바.
세상 이제 왜서 와서 그 장실을 도망가야 말이 장실 대담바 도망가야 말이 그 장실 주비 동바도.
장신라 티마 요마노. 장신라 티마 요마리 근데 심장신기 주비.
장실 주비 동바.
장신이 주비 동바데 또 또바리. 또바디로. So there are two causes for the direct perceptions of the modes, the two selflessnesses. The first one is, so the mind is naturally luminous. Therefore, the nature of the mind is free of defilements. So because of this, therefore, the mind is realized as empty of inherent existence. So this first one, is the first cause, and the second cause is. So the second cause is the perceptions. The perceptions of the perceptions of afflictions as because entitylessness of inherent entitylessness as entitylessness of inherent existence. Sorry. So the second one is perceptions of afflictions as entitylessness of inherent existence. So this is the second cause. And the first cause is the mind is naturally luminous, therefore it is naturally free of defilements, or its nature is free of defilements. So, and therefore the mind is realized as empty of inherent existence. So this is the first cause. And the second cause is the perceptions of afflictions as entitylessness of inherent existence.
this is the kind of this year, the Saint John, US or Sunza, that Saint John, the Juma Yomari, Tomashiba Yomari, that the Tomashiba made it, that Tomati Lobo, as a singing in the Mazukanda, Nimu, singing in the Nimu, that Nimu Mapana singer, it is saying the Nimu the Jedi, Nimu the Dinderwa, Nimu the Dinderwa. Dinder the Ina, that Saint John, US or Angela, Tuma, Nimu Shua Yomari, the Kanda Tomati Lobo Aris, Saint John, Tomati Mashua, the Tomati Lobo Aris. The lobo is that was a Saint John, that Toma Lobo at the Papa, the jungle, Lobo at the Bash, that's not all my neighbor jungle. But this was that, and that is Saint John Hilla, where saw a thing with it, Saint John Hilla, that Toma Bashir with that Tomati Lobo and Yiba, that is not a good word. Saint John Hilla, Tomati Lobo and Yiba, that is good.
So we say the mind is naturally luminous, so means that the nature of the mind is free of defilements. So this phrase, the mind is the nature of the mind is free of defilements, also implies that the defilements is adventitious. So we do have the afflictions on the basis of the mind, and if we have not abandoned it, then we do have the afflictions on the basis of the mind, and those are the adventitious defilements, and these defilements is not mixed with the nature of the mind. So in order to purify these adventitious defilements, then we need to engage in practice.
Oh, that was much never, but that was a much one Yansi Mongolian, Yansi level. That in the never, that Chita was in a Sinja Tangela. Though be Sanji, there are no one. Though be Sanji Chuni, that's on each tomba, Jesus should be Virginia Banchiba. That's Sinji Tanchi Gila and that one. Sinji Tanchila, that kind of come to watch in the Nimo of Chamber, and that did it. Udoshina, Sinji Tanji Gila, Sinji Tangela, and that though be Sanji Chuni, Rangi Tomba Jesus should be Siba. Jenny Banchibi, he hears it. Jenny Banchibi, he threw up. That's Sinji Tanji Kanda, end of. Come to watch the Nimo Machi. He did Geneva Chip. Digital. Then on such not Geneva, she just get the one Tayaba. She just some of a Jetta one Tayaban Chambers, Geneva Chip. His. But under the Katu shield in Mother Sinji Tanji, will be Sanji Junior with Chimba. Chimba did it. The Geneva Chip. His one.
So the second, the exalted wisdom, knowing the varieties. So through seeing modes, realizes that all sentient beings possess the nature of the emptiness of inherent existence of complete Buddhahood. So here is the second quality, knowing the varieties. So the meaning of these lines is in the continuum of all sentient, the exalted wisdom that knows the existence of the Tathāgata essence, the basic element, in the continuum of all sentient beings. So that exalted wisdom is the exalted wisdom knowing the varieties. So the exalted wisdom that knows the existence of the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in the continuum of all sentient beings, is the exalted wisdom knowing the varieties. In general, when we talk about the exalted wisdom knowing the varieties, then we refer to the exalted knowers that knows all objects of knowledge as they are. So that is in the general context. So in this context, the exalted wisdom knowing the varieties, it refers to the exalted wisdom that knows the existence of Tathāgata essence, the basic element in the continuum of all sentient beings.
That you will announce the Rua, I use him on the Roman University. That not the one Malay, but the country mark, and then you know, Rua, so long the river. That any Jikama, river showers it. And that Jetta was a Chinian by Chimney. He did Rua, Mama did Rua, Jetta Chimba, Jet, our Chimba, Chinian by Chimney. He was the Toba, they comes up, and that leading us to Toba, they Jetta Wakin, river, and that Hena Mateva. So hungry, Papa, hungry, so hungry. Jetawa, Chimbata, Chinian Chili, Tobani, Jeda Chimbata, Noa, Chimbata, and the Papi so hungry, Ishiji, the other Siba, the mother, Hena do, yes. I think the Jishima one day.
So the third one is inner knowledge, that should be understood as taught by the above two. So this one refers to inner knowledge, the third one. So the inner knowledge means that so the inner knowledge refers to the knowledge that knows the modes and the varieties, the previous two. So knowing the modes and knowing the varieties, right? So inner knowledge, another translation for this is inner knowledge of the inner knowledge of the exalted wisdom of individual self-knowledge. So it means that by the power of one's own knowledge, then knowing the two, knowing the modes and knowing the varieties without depending on others. So again, the extensive explanations about these two will come later.
That was somebody she got on the market logic. That Chato Dival, a Chapata, Topi, Diva, maybe Divale, drawing that you get a thing, that and just a Papa de la Pishiwa, they did water. Chato, yes, Chapi Divas at the Chato Sewa, Mudilaja, Toba Sewa, Tudi, Kidilasha, maybe Divasewa, that and that Rani Chibish did in law Sewata, Rani Chibo, Tabat in law Sewata. Social
Ranjibo,
Ranjibo, she taken a law. Ranjibo Tabat and a law. So the Kanda maybe Jiba Chavel, and also China maybe Jiba you Marisi. At the Jiba Tanua, there is a mother. Maybe Jiba the Jiba Marisa. She did Mari, Yedi Kankemai. But the Jibaina, she did in the community Yugua. Kakemai.
Inikaptina, the maybe Jiba in the Jiba Ingomaro.
But Jiba Mari, maybe Jiba Kandu Masichana, maybe Jiba Jiba Mari. Jiba Mari. That was the Chilang also did a trope at you, maybe Jiba said, not Jiba was a day, then no Shadagora. But that day, not Kandapa, daily do it, and you hear you then daily do it, take a shiver or take a shiver. But they sort of that really my work and all my level.
So the next three refers to this freedom from obscurations of attachment, freedoms of obscurations of obstructions, and freedoms from inferior obscurations. So here it says the next three have the meaning of possessing an awareness that is free from the obscurations of attachment and of obstructions, and from inferior obscurations. So the first the obscurations of attachment, so refers to afflictive obscurations, and obscurations of obstructions refers to knowledge obscurations, and obscurations from inferior obscurations, and like for example those thoughts striving for one's own liberation, striving for one's own happiness, then those thoughts are inferior obscurations. So even though it is called inferior obscurations, however, they are not the actual obscurations, because being an obscurations is either an afflictive obscurations or knowledge obscurations. These inferior obscurations are neither of these two. So therefore, even though these is given the name obscurations, however, it is not an actual obscurations. So however, here it talks about the quality of being free from these inferior obscurations.
Oh, did you know? That the dish that the mama say, the Jebo, the ma, China Mason, 다 되다 이제 저거 되다 되는 게 그저서 봐봐 되라 다 간단 유지 되라 여반도 와 되어버려 다 사마도 말에 이렇게 원 말래 다 가서 돼 원만 싸워야 지다진이 나오는 수 진도와 디마 쉬어인다 다 되는 말 되는 와
đi nào lại thì duyên đến kia để chuyện
어, 다 단단히 가서 인디 제다
음.
딩기다 파바디 방 외소로 와 인디 제 되는 거와 다 되는 가서 대화 필요로 와 그래서 보고 되라 다들 인디 제보다 막다 가리 되면 다 원 말려 돼 제가 전에 나기네서 다 인디 제를 들마 되고 맞아 왜 시간 들려다 인디 제가 제가 전에 나기는 이히스 바다도 뭐도 심어도 비서 라면 인디 안 되는 이사 다 인디 제가 되는 게 다 제세 바바도 막 쉬어 인디
So this verse is a praise offered to those, so those refers to those Arya Bodhisattvas who possess the eight qualities. So it's a praise offered to those Arya Bodhisattvas who possess these eight qualities. So then we go to next verse, 14, so page 60. Verse 14. So in this verse, then this verse is going to identify each of the qualities, each of the eight qualities.
밥이 로데 shumo도 때 밥이 소대 밥이 저는 밥이 저는 주진에서 다른 주진도 들어와 라나미도 연대다 되마 그래서 이 주제까지는 라나지지 제타와다사 제타와리네데 진행받다 나도 나자 수도 라지 비시와 수도리 비시들와 수도리 비시다 그런 뭐까지 차도 내 숨지 집발에 집이 답이 접초도 그래서 접초 아주 너도 집이 하고 싶었다 돼 와, 접초도 되래서 뭐다 딜론도 다른 뭐까지 차도 내 숨지 집아세 되자고 이름이 자고 맞아 지다 뇌지라 제스 버버디 지다 가서 뇌지라 동계다 마도 니고로 와 지다 뇌지 줘라고만 내가 가서 제스 버버디 딱 간다 시지를 줘요 말로 와 다
뇌지 줘요래
줘요 마도 비어래 동계요 와 다 간다 라고 뭐까지 자고 그래서 라고 같이 차도 메시 라고 뭐까지 차비도 봐 토비도 봐 멘지 예수 앞에 붙잡 초도 좀 말이었어 자 초도 와 나는 비비 이제 데이트 칸 근데 치오로 와 내가 돼 자세바 너디 shumo도 베다 자세 밥이 초되나 밥이 초나 나는 비비 연대다 될 말이었어 나는 비비 이제 디스로 와 나는 비비 이제 데이트 랑기 주시베 쳇다와 제비리 봐 이제 진님발이 되는데 난디 디비인데 와 다 rangaji chato message dipale to ja cho de inde yes ja cho da de liji so za da kanda de la de yes
그래서 뉴디 드라마 저희나 대지 단기 견돈 건조돼요. 자나 대양 단다 제 최진이나 대양
나는 정지 봐봐
장세 봐봐라.
봐봐 샤 봐봐
that's all.
밥이 초는 이게 시고 다 봐봐들랑 어서 니지라 좀 그다 만도 니요 와 다 단단히 뭐까지 잡을 때 다단 지고
that's all. So in relation to this verse, the meaning can be summarized into these few lines. So the subject, yeah. So you can see my Microsoft Words, yeah. So the meaning of this verse can be summarized into these few lines. So he says, the subject, the intelligent, irreversible Arya assemblies, possess unsurpassable qualities. So the intelligent, irreversible Arya assemblies, so this refers to those Sangha Jewel, so possess unsurpassable qualities because it is a supreme refuge whose perceptions of the mode, and if you were to follow the translations of this text, this English translation, then sometimes the word realizations of the mode is used, and sometimes perceptions of the mode is used. So then you should understand that in this context, the word realizations and the perceptions are the same. So this is English translation wise. So whose perceptions of the mode and varieties and disordered wisdom of individual self-knowledge of inner meditative equipoise in their continua are pure of respective obscurations of attachment, obstructions, and inferiority. So it's very important to use these words respective here. So because when we talk about these Arya assemblies, so Arya assemblies, they are two types. So they are Arya assemblies who are free from afflictive obscurations, and they are Arya assemblies who are not yet free from the afflictive obscurations. Therefore, we need to use these words respective. So these intelligent, irreversible Arya assemblies, which are Sangha Jewel, so they are they are free of respective obscurations of attachment, obstructions, and inferiority. So then we go to verse 15. So it says, because they realize migrators to be pacified by nature, they realize things as they are, due to natural, thorough purity, and afflictions being exhausted from the beginning. So here starts the identifications of the eight qualities. So then we'll go to notes again. So the eight qualities of Sangha Jewel, the subject Aya Bodhisattvas. So we have proceeded the subject as Aya Bodhisattvas. So the first quality is Aya Bodhisattvas possess the quality of knowing the mode, because they realize migrating beings are in the nature of classifications of two kinds of self. So meaning of so first we talk about Aya Bodhisattvas possess the quality of knowing the mode. So because they realize migrating beings are in the nature of classifications of two kinds of selves. So basically it means that those Aya Bodhisattvas, they have the direct realizations of the selflessness of a person and the selflessness of phenomena. So just now we also mentioned that the exalted wisdom the direct realizations of these two selflessnesses is the quality of knowing the mode.
또 시바디야 주가르는 지그레스나 너수도 시고로와 예세바바티로와 강자게 엘리트 비트라사 최 공부랑이 지게 동안 너수도 또바 시디레스와 예 또도 손자 다데 예지 주님을 따라 이 지시자와 다 제타와 시비 주님 가르치스나 그때 세나지 주님이 되래 세디 신지지 세디야 너희 지금부터 다 위해서 하겠어 주님 지대로와 세한테 위해서 네 영모가 대표전 나가는데 가지고 와 자, 네 영모가 대만의 세바레스 네 세계랑 길라 마슈바레스 어디서다 다 간다 주님을 데라더니 다 간다 다 간다게 담는 바다 취 담는 무슨 세바레스 세바 주님을 데라더니 세바레스
Yep. So because of realizing in this way, so therefore the self doesn't exist in all phenomena. So because of realizing the two kinds of self, because the classifications of two kinds of self means the two kinds of selflessness. So then because of realizing that the self doesn't exist in all phenomena, the minds of sentient beings are naturally pure and luminous, and thus the second afflictions are exhausted from the very beginning. So this line refers to the first cause for the direct realizations of the mode, which is the two kinds of selflessnesses. So just now we say the mind is in the nature of clear light, or the mind is naturally luminous. So because of that, then the mind is realized as empty of inherent existence, right? So this refers to the first cause. Then the secondary afflictions are exhausted from the very beginning. Then it refers to the second cause. So the perceptions of afflictions as entitylessness of inherent existence.
我当时讲到都是把其他那个谁让当把年目就买来把让一就少的些，他都去都吃都地方有我你去那比赛是吧？谁让当把年目就买来吧？谁让当把年目就买来吧？也可都那个
我最给讲
吧哦，一次忙不了嘛，那个就他就有那个没了，他嘛那这个是吧？然后就这个，谁让当把年目就买来吧？那让你就越晒越甜的，结果谁让当把谁让当把。 年目就买来吧，让你的越晒越甜的，是吧？那得，谁甜当嘛，年目就买来吧，那让你就越晒越甜的，越晒。
61. That's right. Oh. Same to number.
谁甜当嘛，年目就买来吧，那让你就越晒越甜的，顶过那得是。 完了，就是
年目就买来吧，
年目就买来吧，年目就买来吧，让你的越晒越甜些，
让心就越晒越甜的，
越晒越甜的。
Yep. So then you can so here it says so the meaning of these lines means that, or the meaning of these lines, so this is the explanations of the verse just now regarding the first quality. So then the meaning of these lines means that the mind is not tainted by ultimate afflictions. The mind is not ultimately tainted by afflictions. The mind is in the nature of clear light, or the mind is naturally luminous. So this is the meaning of the quality.
我看到谁天当把年目就买来吧，让你就越少点我的，看到你的结果的是吧？刚才的瀑布上一就走吧，刚才的瀑布上一就走吧，你这边老有了吧？刚才的瀑布上一就走吧，吧，是吧？刚才的瀑布上一走吧，这边老这个你这把哪些？你到这单听吧，点哪些？甚至点那要买的是看到，是吧？那刚才看对吧？现在谁让一就走吧，这边老。 谁让你主办这边？老学了啊！我点你这把点单听不见，你这把哪些？老让谁让你主办这边？你把点你到点单听不哪些去？甚至点那要来是的要买的是，
甚至点那，
甚至点甚至点那要买的是，谁让你去主办这边？你这把点你这把哪些？你到点哪些去？甚至点那要来是呢？要买的是，
甚至点那要买，
甚至点那要买的是。 요 말했어. 이 가시 요바 이나 로다. 이 생기 때나 근데 요바 이나 내 세상 이게 주비 정말게 장무로에 장 매바 차로 그랬어. 와. 리지 진반나시 생기 때나 요바 이나 내 세상 이게 생기 때나 맞아 정말 장요로 와. 와. 이거는 세상 이게 주비 정말 장도 무로에 그랬어. 장 무로에 어디 그랬어. 다단다 강 공시에 단다 디시는
The gyud thangbo de ro ajala di chitawa ribe yunden denbe gyud thangbo de ro. Yeah. So here you can see the words are causes, right? So these are the causes for the perception, direct perceptions of the modes or the two selflessnesses. So here it talks about the causes. So just now here, yeah. So he says the mind not being ultimately defiled by the afflictions is the meaning of being in the nature of clear light. So the mind is not ultimately tainted or polluted or defiled by the afflictions. So then this is the mind is in the nature of clear light, or the mind is naturally luminous. Then furthermore, it also means that nothing exists in the mind that accords with the modes of apprehensions of the darkness of ignorance, apprehending inherently existing persons and phenomena. If that were the case, the mind would be inherently established and the defilements could not be purified. So it means that, so it means that nothing exists in the mind. So nothing exists in the mind, or nothing exists on the basis of mind that accords with the modes of apprehensions of the ignorance. So ignorance apprehends person and phenomena as inherently existent. So this is the modes of apprehensions of ignorance. So nothing exists on the basis of minds that accords with the modes of apprehensions of ignorance. If that were the case, if it existed, then the mind would be inherently established. Then the defilements could not be purified. So if that were the case, means that if things exist on the basis of mind that accords with the modes of apprehensions of ignorance, that apprehends persons and phenomena as inherent existence, then the mind would be inherently established, and then the defilements would not be purified. Could not be purified. So this is explanations about knowing the modes. So next we go to verse 16, page 63. So here he talks about knowing varieties. So the root verse says they are endowed with knowledge of varieties because the mind that realizes the final objects of knowledge sees that the nature of omniscience is present in all sentient beings.
간다 진입이 인데다 딩그레 예스와 진입버리 비데 딩그레 데 딩비 준세 가르레 예스나 다른 지지 시지 이면서 타기도 빌려도 좋아 타기도 빌리기 왜 탄지 진비 준이데 신게 탄지라 여방을 좀 했어 좋아 나 신게 탄지나 산지로 산지지 이것을 너무로와 이 통한다 되로
이 참지 킴비 준이 세대 상계 리사
산지로
되로
와 리로와
나서
간다 나 내가 지민이 뭐 나 시도 되로와 이게 준이 들어와 어디 신게 탄지라 여방을 좀 했어 어디 된 통화선다 이 진행발이 비용되다 되게 돼. 예세. 어제서 봐봐도 맞어. 근데 그거 시험만 시야.
Then in relation to this verse, then we go to explanations. So again, the subject Ayya Bodhisattvas possess the quality of knowing the varieties because the minds realizing the final modes of abiding of objects of knowledge in their continua directly see the real nature of omniscience existing in all sentient beings. So we are in the context of discussing Sangha Jewel, right? So we are talking about, for example, an Arya Bodhisattvas. They possess the quality of knowing the varieties because the minds realizing the final modes of abiding of objects of knowledge. So modes of abiding of limitless objects of knowledge in the continua. So this mind directly see the real nature of omniscience. So the real nature of omniscience basically refers to the Buddha lineage. So it refers to the Tathāgata essence. So it exists in all sentient beings. So because of this, therefore we say Arya Bodhisattvas possess the quality of knowing the varieties.
내가 그때 동 찬도하고 같이 그러와. 나 제세 봐봐도 간다. 진입 다 이제 진입버리 다 이제 숨바 들어와. 다 이제 숨바 나니 이제 들어와. 그때 이거 하는 거 좀. 그때 이제 취신생과. 다 제세 봐봐도 다 소소 라운지 이시 통하니 레스. 와. 소소 라운지 이시 통하레스. 이 비준시 가르스나. 다 모두 간다. 라운지 졌다와 또 받아. 받아. 진입도 있는데 진입도 봐. 강의 받대 그 소소 랑기 리바레스 와 무엇도 똑바데 소소 랑기 제라 마테 바소 랑기 리비시 통하레스 랑기 리비시 통하레스 와 제라 마테 바 소소 제가 팀모 뭐 소소 랑기 리비시 통하레스 그래 된다 와
So then the third quality is inner knowledge, right? So inner knowledge. So then again, the subject, Arya Bodhisattvas, so possess the perceptions of the exalted wisdom of individual self-knowledge. So this is what I mentioned just now in terms of English translation. So the third quality in our text is listed as inner knowledge, right? So this is the one. So they possess the perceptions of the exalted wisdom of individual self-knowledge because they directly know whatever realization of the mode and the varieties refers to the first two qualities. So they directly know whatever realizations of the mode and the varieties in their continua as explained above. So means that they directly know whatever realization of the mode and varieties means that they without depending on others, their own exalted wisdom of individual knowledge realize the modes and realize the varieties. So therefore it's called perceptions of the exalted wisdom of individual self-knowledge. So it means that without depending on others, they are able to realize the modes and the varieties.
이게 떠와되는 이 대신은 이거 전주 떠와되어
대시.
떠와되 내가 또바 강인데 스스로는 신 통화니시 됐다. 근데 나리 그 이제 되지와 나리 그 이제 떠와 되는 떠와 만다면도 아무거나 됐다.
So in relation to the third quality, inner knowledge is verse 17. Go to page 64. Yeah, the first two lines of verse 17, it says, so it is in a quality of inner knowledge, right? So it says, whatever is realized in this way is seen by one's own exalted wisdom.
그래서 어다들 당어서 뒤지라 가지나 다 잡아서 토비 뒤가 좋아 되게 시험도 와. 좋아. 잡아서 토비 뒤가 좋아 돼. 다 간다 아무리 데려와 지미
자와.
와다 지미가 참에다 토메시데 아바 이세 와 당아서 자도 디발 도와 말이 마시오 와 따디마시에서.
So the next quality is freedom from the obscurations of attachment and obstruction. So there are two qualities here. So it is pure because in the undefiled sphere, there is neither attachment nor obstruction.
다 간다 제세 바바데 나마 자야 당아서요. 자야데 제세 바바데 이 간다 다 조이인데 손다 딩그래. 다 제세겠다. 조이인데 손다 딩그래 카드와 제세게 조이인데 손다 딩그래. 데미 제세 가르다 제세 시오로 그럼 주시베 정말 비기나 랑 뭐까지 니디지 차바 와 랑 뭐까지 니디지 차바 메바다 랑 뭐까지 시디지 차바 시디지와 시디지 토바미 비셈바레스
랑이 뭐가기
랑
차바
뭐까지 니디지 차바 메바다
윤디기 차바 메바다.
랑 뭐까지 시디지 토바미 비셈바레스 와
그자는 토바양 요마로.
토바미 비셈바레스 이 순간 내가다 다 조이데 이제 되면 예스 조이 무슨 되면 말씀 안 되거든.
对，用啲 zoom 咯，啲能夠拿啲他媽啲寫喎。
他們寫嘛。
而你啲 zoom 用啲 zoom 啲寫咗咯。
是的。
那是我。Yeah. So even though here it says freedom from the obscurations of attachment and obstructions, right? So you should understand that it also includes the third quality, the obscurations of attachment, obscurations of obstructions, and obscurations of inferiority. In other words, inferior obscuration. So then we go to the explanation. So the quality is 4, 5, 6. So again, the subject is Aya Bodhisattvas. So they are pure. So they are pure because they possess the three qualities of freedom. So these three freedoms, referring to the freedoms of obscurations of attachment, obstructions, and inferiority. So the three qualities of freedom, because they are bodhisattvas or heroic mind, without the respective obstructions of knowledge, respective obstructions of knowledge obscurations, and attachment of afflictive obscurations. So as mentioned just now, obstructions of obstructions are the knowledge obscurations. So therefore it says the respective obstructions of knowledge obscurations and attachments of afflictive obscuration. So attachment is included within afflictive obscurations. So it refers to afflictive obscurations and in the stainless sphere in their continuum. So here it talks about those Aya Bodhisattvas possess the three qualities of freedom, including the inferiority.
चित्तावा रिपा चेन्नेबा रिपी ये लाजिला ता छातो जी दिपाले ढोलो होरे ढोआ ढोई थारे ये देंदे देवा कतुवा चित्तावा रां रिपादा चेन्नेबा रिपी लाजिला तिने ये छातो जी दिपाले ढोलो ये सेवा छातो जी दिपाले ढोलो ये से ढोई दिशेवा ढोई दिशेवा.
Then he says the outcome of knowing the modes and knowing the varieties is freedom from the obscurations of attachment and obstruction.
다 조인데 되지와 다 간다 안서 되시오래 에디 간다데 조인데 되시오래 다 간다 자야데 랑도 뭐까지 예디다 랑 뭐까지 차디다 예디스네 무슨 잡아이나 이제 야에 가르스나 나도 셔세 봐봐 사 제바 마토 받아 가서 예디를 도요 말와
사기바 마토 받도
사 제바 마토 받은 예디를 도요 말와 사 제바 또는 예디는 방고요 와 시디 빠다 사 제바 또 시디 신내야 빠양
고나 사기바 때 토와이나
사 제바 토바다 예디 방고요 사 딤바 멘제만 예디 방고요 말 예디 마포 순다 사 딤바 멘제 가서 장세 사 당보 사 니바서 파파 건가세 그래서 빈디빈저 예서 봐봐 차대로와 빈디빈저 뭐 차대 니디 줘요 말에 다랑 뭐까지 니디를 좋아하시나 사 당보와 소소소소게 반짝이 다 유물이 요래와 니디를 요래 다도 시시분에 한탄다 이제 레르만 샤다요 그러와 사 당보에 반짝이 니디 前提就是嘛，现在啥当不了班呀，你把班呀，送不了班呀，说了嘛，这里班呀嘛，不下去呀，嘛，说有点嘛的，你的班都要嘛，是吧？你的班呀嘛，你的班的3级吧嘛，对吧？班开始嘛。我这里说啥？当然我们去查头去3班的，3班的也是的，那得打他来回。
沙塘杯呢，yang di nyundi yang ngogagi nyundi di pangiro. Rangi sa tangbo ina yang rangi ngogagi nyundi pangiro wa jila.
Sa tangbo kangai pangu ya mare. Sa tangbo nga so
ngogagi jiba pang mare ma do. Ini di sa kiba to wa ina di nyundi kaga di sama di yang pangiro. Sama di pangsari. Yeah, so again, why just now we say that we need to use the word respective obscurations, because the respective obscuration, respective afflictive obscurations, right? So because from those bodhisattvas on the first ground, so those Arya bodhisattvas on the first ground, so they are Arya bodhisattvas, and then they are Sangha Jua as well. So on the first ground up to the 7th ground, up to and including the 7th ground. So even though they do abandon their respective obscurations, however, they have not abandoned the entirety of afflictive obscurations. So when they attain the 8th ground, then they will abandon they will abandon all of the afflictive obscurations. So until they attain 8th ground, then they have not abandoned. They only abandon the respective obscurations. Depends on whichever ground they are, from the 7th ground and 7th ground and downwards, so to 6th ground, 5th ground, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. So 1st ground up to and including 7th ground, then they do abandon their respective obscurations. However, they have not abandoned the entirety. So when they attain the 8th ground, they will abandon the entirety of afflictive obscurations. So therefore, we need to use the word respective afflictive obscuration. They can do control it. 파바이나 대한 인지미지한 견돈 건조인 거 말고.
렌디 군조 이거 됐어.
장생 파바이나 대 견돈인 거.
렌디 군조 이거 거든이나 렌디 군조이나 도 이게 제가 되고 말이야. 되고 말이 되는 거다 나로.
견돈 건조인 거로. 얘네들 연행 제가 대한 된거 말. 된거 말이.
되고 말이야. 맞어. 뭐 상세 파바 인신이라는 게 렌디 군조 이거 거다.
찬스 파바 인신이라. Yeah. So previously we talked about the definitions of a Sangha jewel is an Arya or a superior person who possesses any of the eight qualities of knowledge and liberation, right? So liberations of freedom, so eight qualities of knowledge and liberation of freedom. So the definition is considered in this way. So however, we also have to understand that as Arya Bodhisattvas, so Arya Bodhisattvas is not necessarily a Sangha jewel. So Arya Bodhisattva is necessarily Sangha jewel. However, Arya Bodhisattva is does not necessarily possess eight qualities of knowledge and liberation. So for example, so those Bodhisattvas who have not entered the path of hearers and the path of solitary realizers, they from the very beginning enter the path of Mahāyāna path. And then they go through, they practice, and then they proceed to a higher path from the path of preparation, path of accumulation, path of preparation, and then they attain the path of seeing. So those Arya Bodhisattvas who initially attain the path of seeing, then they are called the uninterrupted. They are called the uninterrupted path of the. They are called the beings who are on the uninterrupted path of seeing, those who are on the uninterrupted path of seeing. So at that point, at that initial point of attaining the path of seeing, they do not possess the quality of freedom from its respective obscurations yet. So they have not attained the quality of freedom from the attachments of afflictive obscurations, their respective obscurations yet. So until they become until they attain the liberated path of the path of seeing, then only then they will possess the quality of freedom or quality of liberation. So therefore, we need to use the word respective because they are Arya Bodhisattvas, though they are Sangha jewel, however, they does not necessarily possess the eight qualities of knowledge and liberation. So if you read text, then you come across the word freedom from obscurations of attachment and obstruction. Then when you see these words, even the words respective is not there, then you should understand that they are the freedom from the obscurations of attachment and obstructions are respective. So respective, you should understand that the word respective is there. So respective freedom from obscurations of attachment and obstructions, even though the word respective is not there. Otherwise, faults will follow.
maybe to it.
Okay, so then we go to verse 18. Yeah. So here it says the quality of freedom from inferior obscurations. So just now I said the freedom of inferior obscurations are included, right? So it is included. It's just that here then he explained separately again. So here the root verse is, because the realizations of the exalted wisdom is pure, it is close to the Buddha's unsurpassable exalted wisdom. Therefore, the noble ones who are irreversible are a refuge for all beings.
양 자세 바바데 하는 거야. 다 자세 바바데 다 간다 미비 디발에 도와서 가르쳐 왔으나 산지지시 라나메 발라니와 니바데 예수와 산지지 라나메 니와 니바 예수자 되니 이제지 그 장지지고 니게 그 장지지 시지 시바 그 장고가지 차도 메스지 디바 다버렸어 디바 차도 메스지 와 장고가지 차도 메스지 디바 아바레스 그 디바 대 답이 차네 안다 미비 디바 그와 지시 와 내니쇼 이즈니 와 다 파파 심부도 바네 야 심부도 바다 대왕서 심부도 바 그다음 와서 심부도 바 샤자 뭐 사 제발에 샤당지 요리야 와 이게 사 제발 샤당지나 이유가 되네 나 담보들어 와 다 상스 저세 파파데 다 상지지 히 라나메 발라 와 라나메 발라 니와니 와레스 니와니 바이데 랑지지 비네 이히지 시바 랑게 뭐가지 차도 메시지 지발에 다바레스 디바 다바레스 와 디발에 다바레스 그 디발 다바 송자 아미비 디발에 도와 예세 딜로 지리 아무리지
Yep. So then in relation to verse 18, so the subject is presented as Arya Bodhisattvas, then abide close to the unsurpassable exalted wisdom of Buddha, because the perceptions of exalted wisdom in their continua are pure of the respective obscurations of attachment, obstruction, and inferiority, and thus are pure. So this is explanations for the freedom from the obscurations of inferiority. So Arya Bodhisattvas, they abide closely to the unsurpassable exalted wisdom of Buddha, because the perceptions of exalted wisdom in their continua are pure of the respective obscurations of attachment and obstructions. So because of these pure, because their perceptions of exalted wisdom are pure of the respective obscurations of the attachment and obstructions, therefore they are free from the obscurations of the inferiority. So because of these two, and therefore they are free from the obscurations of the inferiority.
나들이 안장 가서 다 파파 심을 자세 파파 심을도 봐 양자지 시오로와 다 자세 파파 심을도 봐대 먼저 리지 군지 자리에서 오로와 리지 신지 군지 오로와 리지 군지 자리에서 이 자리 비준세 가서나 루지게 루지게 지든지 잡히스 뭐 루지게 제대로 잡히스 나들 가서 파파 심을도 봐 무슨 마시오디 사제와 얘기를 자고 치고와 심을도 사제와 얘기를 나 먼저 미비 디발 좋아데 대사지 보고 말해 그거 말해 사딘바 담보니 사 담보니 야 나도라 돈이 좋아 요리와 사 담보니 자주고 다 간다
담보 대에 대한 사 담보니 대바바도 대 자주고
파파 shum도 바나 다 리지 근지 자래 리지 자 이비 전세 가르스나 다도 도지인데 제den지 자레스 와 파파 shum도 바 도지인데 제다 된지시 좀レス 다도 도지인데 제다 된게 자유 리지 근지 자유 바송자 리지 근지 자유 비 전세지 다 미비 지발에 도로 해서 리지 근지 자유 비 전세시 와 리지 근지 자유 바 송자 다 미비 지발에 도와 예스 다 미비 지발 다지 주사인 바 장서 와 미비 지발서 가서 란치비 시대 되네 줄로 와 란치비 시대 되는 당 란치비 타바트는 줄로 어디서 나 미비 지발 와
당기 the papa 장생 파파이나 장생 파파 대양
대세 뭐 지금 대세 뭐
담보는
That's a proportion. But
肯定我就点啦啲上幾嘅嘢些啦，那咩把嘢話呢把嘢啲啲過來，呢點啲當嘅長些爸爸啲沙頭部啲點把拍到，呢點啲啊
，That's a proper 可能咯啦。
ini tiang papa chi mi do ba ina ini tiang de sa ke ba yin je ro chi sa de tang gi tiang chi tang gi ini ti tanda ina ya sa ke ba yin je ro so here you say is the subject aya bodhisattvas, right? So referring to the first explanations is referring to aya bodhisattvas in general, and then the second explanations it says the subject, the irreversible ayas. So here the irreversible ayas refers to those bodhisattvas on the eighth ground and onwards. So those bodhisattvas on the eighth ground and onwards are called the irreversible ayas. Then they are the refuge of all embodied beings. So they are the refuge of all embodied beings because they are the refuge who possess the eight qualities of knowledge and freedom. So those Aya Bodhisattvas on the eighth ground and onwards, they are the refuge of all embodied beings. So embodied beings also means sentient beings. So because they are the refuge who possess the eight qualities of knowledge and freedom. So as mentioned just now, those eight ground Bodhisattvas and onwards, and they do possess the eight qualities of knowledge and freedom. Then and then when we talk about the obscurations of inferiority, so obscurations of inferiority, just now we also mentioned that those thoughts striving for one's own liberation, those thoughts striving for one's own happiness, right? So because these Aya Bodhisattvas on the eighth ground and onwards, they are the refuge of all embodied beings, therefore they are free from the obscurations of inferiority.
어디 오늘 당황해서 되면 돼. 오늘 배 저기 뭐 저기 만나셔 주고 저기 넘셔. 어때 뭐 어디 지금 뭐 내가 저 자수. 디시가 좀 보시라. 그래서 저기 빠탄 저기 기도 반로. 근데 저기 빠탄 디시.
대인쇼게 말해. 대인쇼게 려. 소소.
일단
이자와
때문에 어디지?
좋아.
어디지? 나한테 와서 막 저기 능해서 저기 지금부터 어디서 먹으면서 막 자수 넘버샷 안 좋아. 어디 마시 좋아. 자수 넘버샷. 자수 넘버샷 간디 샤브에서 담아 대시 좋아.
맞아. 나는 이 자와디 양 캡슐 디 넘버샷 와디 골라봐.
대시 한번 시즌에 좋아. temba lodeji te basu da chiso na me bas tinge wan me ba nam wan shine ta jasu na ba shawa ni serwa.
So then we go to verse 19. Verse 19 is on page 70. So this verse it talks about the presentations of the three refuges. So this verse indicates or shows the presentations of the three refuges. So it says, from the perspective of the teacher, the teaching, and learners, by way of the three vehicles and by way of affinity to those three activities, the three refuges are presented.
다 소리를 간다. 자순 넘버 샤바스와데. 다 소리를 그냥 자순 넘버 샤바데. 인생 요데 다 티바스지 간자서 자순아 초의 샤와시바 매번한 저 원듯이 자순 넘버 샤바. 예스와. 어디 먼저 기다 간사 중단을 시와. 인생 같이를 쉐 비자 중 간사 중단을 시와. 다 간다. 템버로 되치세. 티바송 제소나 매번한 저 원듯이 자순 넘버 샤바. 예스와. 다 자수 넘버 샤바들와 자수 소르네 접수 넘버 샤비 준세요데 다 티바소지 간사다 와 다 티바소 내대지 티바 안자지 티바 지지 티바스들와 지지지 대소와 지지 소와 다 자수나 초도 샤와시바 샤와시비 매번하지 마시 온데 신에 다 자수 넘버 샤바데스
Then we go to extra notes. Then from the perspectives of what purpose and of whom did the Buddha present the three refuges? So there is a reason for presenting the three refuges in the discourses. That is, the three refuges were taught from the perspectives of the persons of the three vehicles and of those who admire the three refuges as supreme. So here you can see the persons of the three vehicles and those who admire the three refuges as supreme. So you can say that there are 6 types of disciples. So the persons of the three vehicles are the Theora vehicle, Theora realizer vehicle, and Mahāyāna vehicle. And then of those who admire the three refuges as supreme. Yes. So we talk about there are 6 types of disciples, right? So in relation to the Buddha jewel, so Buddha jewel was presented as refuge from the perspectives of bodhisattvas who strive for the qualities of the teacher. So then, this is the first type of disciples, bodhisattvas who strive for the qualities of the teacher. So it refers to those who are Mahāyāna lineage bearers and persons who admire Buddha as supreme. So these Mahāyāna lineage bearers also refers to those who have already entered the Mahāyāna path. So then this is the first type of disciples. So the second type of disciple, persons who admire Buddha as supreme, so refers to those who have not entered the Mahāyāna path. So those persons who admire Buddha as supreme through paying veneration and making offerings to Buddha. So then through this, then they admire or regard Buddha as supreme. So the second type of disciples refers to those who have not entered the Mahāyāna path. So then because Buddha is supreme among bipeds, so Buddha jewel or Buddha is supreme among bipeds. So here it talks about 2 types of disciples. 생각까지도 차서.
당진도 사서.
음.
다 때바 당치진데 추분들와 때바 당치진 인데 되더니 다른 안자지지. 안자지지 나 다 출라 초도 미비 샤.对吧? 출라 초도 미비 원의 신의 본조라 자서 샤와신 다 간다 되게 본지 지셔서와 나도 안자지 나도 마 휴장으로와 나도 마 휴자 되라야 초도 출라 초도 미비 내와 얘기지. 对吧? 내가 매번 얘기 원의 신의 추분도 나봐 샤바. yes. 이 샤데 인도샤다 좋아하는지 초도 yes 추분도.
지인의 인도기 남라 슈바탕 대양 신의 지대 양 인도기 남라 마슈년데 조로. 니바데. 랑게. 니바 당보 있는 데 람
따지바를 잡아.
남라 슈년다 니바데 남마 슈년로.
어디로 한번 따지르시. 먼저 부터 내가 저 때문에 이스티부터. 그렇죠.
So then the second one is Dharma Jewel. So Dharma Jewel was presented as refuge from the perspectives of solitary realizer lineage bearers who strive for the qualities of the holy Dharma, the teaching, and persons who admire Dharma as supreme. So it's similar to the first presentation. So the first one is those who have entered the Mahāyāna path, and the second one is those who have not entered the Mahāyāna path, right? So in relation to Dharma Jewel, the first types of disciples refers to those who have entered the solitary realizer's path, and the second type is those who have not entered the solitary realizer's path. Oh yeah. And because Dharma is supreme among separations from attachment.
아니바데 숨바들와 살로바 니디지리와 살로바 니디지리젠다 다 겐딜이야 초도 메비 관자 니지 원다 신에 다 겐디 자스나 바샤와 예스 이러와 다 겐디 군데가 된다니 간다 자스 샤바지라 니디지리지 나나 신이 겐디 요러와 니지다 다 나나 마시자 다 겐딜이야 하정 메바 친구 이렇게 그러와 나나 마시 메바 친구 이렇게 니 간자 니지 원다 신에 다 겐디 군데야 yes.
인도기 람라 메바 유케로.
마추장.
람라 마슈경 인도기 람라 메바 유케.
인디라 메바 유케.
겐든라 메바 유케.
인디군데라 메바 유케. 어디?
인근초라 메바 유케. So in relation to Sangha Jewel, then Sangha Jewel was presented as refuge from the perspectives of learner, hearer, lineage bearers, and persons who admire Sangha as supreme. So learner, hearer, lineage bearers refers to those who have already entered the hearer's path, and persons who admire Sangha as supreme refers to those who have not entered the hearer's path, but they do have the admiration for Sangha as supreme. They do admire Sangha as supreme.
just number shadane the world that they are living there and ja le la nga so dija ni yo le sa ja do ni wa ma na ji ran de bi ja da lang de shu ba de lang de shu ba de wa de lang de to ja ji bi lang de to ja san ji bu jo da dang bo de san ji bu jo na lang de to ja ji bu lang de ji bu to ja san ji bu jo de la sha do wa
lang de to ja
san ji lang de to ja
ji bu
wa san ji bu jo do wa ji bu
제부 상기 건조.
제부 상기 건조. 나랑이 도시 상기데 제비 자샤. 나랑이 도시 상기 여러 된 제비 자라. 자. 제비 자. 나랑이 도자.
상기 도자 제부 상기 건조로.
상기 건조. 그냥 제부 상기 건조. 얘 나랑 내가 비 여러. 얘는 넘버 샤다. 주의자. 와. 주의자서 하는 것도 hin지를 두신이 자들 와. hin지를 두신이 자들.
신규라.
뭐 힌지 때 막지 때 와다 보다 때 막지 때 와다 보다 뭐 다자 부사 와 주의자로 와 맞어 주자로 와 때 막지 때 주자로 와 뭐다 나마스라 랑기 토자 지비자다 시마라 나라 랑기 그다 주의자 사고 그래서 주의자 좋아
치마이나 되게 있죠.
좀 주의자 디젤만 넘버 샤사 요로와 샤사데 시마 매바 여기 요로와 들라마 접 넘버 샤자 넘버 샤와데 주의자 넘버 샤지 넘어도 리젤 여기 요로와 이제는 랑게 도전 리비자
맞아. 대니바 대한테 싱귤라 주심베 건조된 소라이라. 대 두자직니바 대 규갑 대네데 싱귤라 주심베 건조된 소라.
주의자 와 주의자 되는
거죠. So the explanations in so these explanations is the explanations of this verse 19. It says from the perspective of the teacher, the teaching, and the learner, by way of the three vehicles. So as mentioned just now, the first types of each jewel, and by way of affinity to those three activities. So by way of affinity to those three activities refers to the second type of disciple in relation to each of the jewel. So affinity or admiration, different translation, but refer to the same thing. So then the three refuges are presented. So it's in relation to this verse. So from this presentation, then we can understand that each of the refuges has two types of disciples. So you can see here. So each of the refuges has two types of disciples. The three refuges were taught from the perspective of purpose, that is, as the resultant refuges for the former. So as the resultant refuges for the former means that former refers to those who have already entered the path. Those who have entered the path refer to the first types of disciples for each of the jewel. Then resultant refuges for the former means that this Buddha jewel, the resultant Buddha jewel, is their objects of attainment. So resultant refuges for the former means that those former, the first type, the former one, they takes the resultant Buddha jewel in relation to the first one. Then they takes the Buddha resultant Buddha jewel as their own objects of attainment. And then as the causal refuges for the later. So later refers to the second type of each of the jewel. For those who have affinity or those who have admiration. Then a causal refuge means that those causal refuge refers to those refuges that have already been established in the continuum of others. So for example, Buddha Shakyamuni. So Buddha Shakyamuni is a jewel that has already been established in the continuum of others. So then they take 치마 대니 대규 있게라고 하기라. 아니 양 대 singular 두 심베 군조된소 얘네 대 공소한테 될 규격.
맞아. 맞아. 잡들은 주자서 니 요로와. 주자서와데 맞아. 얘기를 두시고 어떤 시절 때 만나고 맞아 주자래. 때 시절 때 만나고 주자. 다랑이 주자서와데 다 간사랑이 산지 장기 대대면은 주자데 아니 비 산지 다도 요로와. 산지 예 레자죠. 아니 산지 또 모음바는 아니 산지 중요한 요로와. 모음바는 아니 산지 부바트야게 산지 요로와. 레자죠. 레자 지켜. 다자 템바보다 먼저 주자죠. 다자 템바 이라 맞아. 딱 군주서 두사로와. 두사로 군주 순간 내려. 템바. 딱 나랑서 된 레자데 신의 토야로와. 신의 토야로와. 모음바는 맞아. 이런 남지 지역에 도전 남지 요로와. 모음바는 맞아. 이라 도전 남지데 딱 맞아 되셔.
So as the causal refuges for the later, so you can see that this Sangha, this Dharma, and this Buddha, such as Buddha Shakyamuni, so those persons who admire Buddha, such as Buddha Shakyamuni as supreme, so those Buddha, such as Buddha Shakyamuni, they are a Buddha jewel that has already been established, in the continuum of others. in the continuum of others. So the first type is presented as the resultant refuges for the three jewels are presented as the resultant refuges for the former, and the three jewels are presented as the causal refuges for the later. So a refuge can be divided into two types. One is the causal refuge, and the second one is the resultant refuge. So these are the presentations from these two perspectives. So when we talk about Buddha Shakyamuni and as a Buddha jewel that has already been established in the continuum of others, then this is a causal refuge. And when we talk about resultant refuge, for example, our own resultant refuge is our own enlightenment, our own Buddhahood, our own omniscience, the objects of attainment, our own omniscience that we will attain in the future. So those omniscience, those enlightenment, those Buddhahood are our own resultant refuge. So we talk about these three types of lineage bearers, right? So here is lineage bearer, solitary realizer lineage bearer, and Mahāyāna lineage bearers. So from the perspectives of the objects of attainment in their own continuum, then the three resultant refuges are presented. Yeah. So from the perspectives of the objects of attainment in the continuum of the three types of the three lineage bearers, then the three refuges are presented as three resultant refuges are presented, and then the three refuges that have already been established. So these three refuges that have already been established in relation to the three lineage bearers, then they are presented as causal refuge. So for the second type, those who have not entered the path, but they do have the admiration for the three jewels or those affinity to those three jewels, then then the three jewels are then the causal refuge, each of the causal refuge were presented. They are presented as the causal refuge for each of them. So this is the summary of the explanation just now.
이 가스나 디자를 제스 체르체 디자라 제스가 당이 예서 간다.
캡순데 디 장애 말에.
capsun도 cap대라 capsun도 당이 그래서 와 cap대라 손도 당이 그래. 님님지가 이 체르체 디자를 제스 디제대라 손도 당이 예서 와 제스 당이 예서 그 디지 네바테야 손도 당이 그래서 야데 이거가 아주 고시자고 이제 대화를 해야 돼서 그래서 지금 빨리 당이
디 땅마소.
어디 어디 어디면 그냥 뭐 디자를 제스 체르체 디자를 제스 디제대라 손도 당이 그래서 예수도 당이와 손자 디자를 체르체 사기마 자서 양바지서 체르체 디자를 제스나 당이와 손자 자들라 손도 당이 그래서
Yep. So with regard to refuge, so refuge is no, the definition, the definite enumerations of refuge is 3. So means that refuge is definitely specified as 3. So means that there are 3 refuges. So it's definitely specified as 3 because the lineage the lineage bearers, the intended disciples are specified as 3. I repeat. So when we talk about this refuge is specified as 3 because the lineage bearers, the intended disciples are specified as 3.
나중에 라마 산지 라마지 대기 라마 근데 근제시 라마 라마나랑 저번 보세 가서 저번 부야 가봐. 저번 부야. 뭐다 라마 데리다 짜서데. 라마 산지 라마 취해서. 그봐. 라마 산지 산지 라마 산지 라마 취해서 근데 그거와 취고저와 라마 산지 라마 취해서. 가다와 라마 산지 라마 취. 그저서 대신세와 대나시 대신 라마 근디데스 견디레스 대나시 라마 근디데스 딱 근지 제보 라마 해서 간다 좋아 근지 제보보다 더 간다 라마 또 디레스 가서 나지 더 라마는 제보 비서 가서 제보 두고 와 왜 디리다
맞아. 가나이 디양 저 라마사 디냐 디양 디기압으로 이절라.
쩌리 당어서 배 거기서 라마 가다 쩌 요도메도 되래 라마스는 가서 쩌 요도메도 되다 예 요도메 당아지 내가 넣어야 되는 것은 따빠시 저거 부구야 라마 산지 라마 취해서 저거 부구야 이 뒤에는 말로 그래 되는데 예 이거서 라마스 라마 취해서 다섯 동원이 전에 라마 뒤에 산지다 취해다 웬디다 그거 끈집에 안다 람템바고 람도 템바고 제보 어때 리스트다 어디 난지 따바리 땅에도 말로 된다 데리와 because it's quadrant church.
So I wanted to find the full offering prayer, so I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it immediately. Offering prayer, yeah. Oh, okay. Share. So when we talk about these 3 refuges, then we also recite a full offering prayer, right? So we say Lama Sangye Lama Chö, Tishin Lama Kim Dente, Queen Jepo Lama Te or Lama Gin, then Lama Nama Chebapu. Then we say the Guru is Buddha, the Guru is Dharma, the Guru is also Sangha, the Guru is the creator of all happiness. So we should also regard Guru as our refuge as well. So then the Guru is the Buddha, Guru is the Dharma, Guru is the Sangha. Then the Guru is the creator of all happiness. Then you can also understand it as the Guru is the teacher of the path to all migrating beings.
뭐 다들이 되더라고. 아마도 들이 안다 가서 자수 넘버 샤바를 다들이 간다고. 근데 지쇼로가 되기 만들어서 다들 얼마 가서 지 얼마 되더라고. 좀
가만죠.
네. 그래서 본질이 지시서.
지시 방법이나 디사이즈. 지시 방법이나 디사이즈. 가만죠 나로라 차토나.
다들 어디 다시 얼마 되려서 관심을 취지시 메신지도 집에서 최단이다 파비서 이제 장조 많이 있어. 이도와 어디든 가서 내나마지 간다. 산지 많이 접 대단히 접 초와 접 초들어와 산지 많이 접 대단히 접 많이 봐. 대단히 접 초 많이 봐. 산지 시바 요마스다 된다게 돼야 돼. 산지를 시마치. 대단히 치지 말라. 또 잘하면 싫어.
당부 So then we go to verse 20 on page 72. So, presentations of ultimate refuge. So under this outline, the verse is verse 20. It says, because of being abandoned, because of being abandoned, because of being deceptive, because of being non-existent, and because of having fear, the two dharmas and the assembly of nobles are not the everlasting supreme refuge.
소로이나 균이라고 시고 그 랑지라 터져 타들이 이제 자 초마래 해서 대단히 대망에서 또 타들이 이제부터 봐나 다 세다 라니 이제부터 그 타서 목이 바빠고 도자를 했어 어디 다 되고 되는 거다
아주 이대로
좀 너무 되게 디진도
디지털 민들데
소로 이런 균이 타들이 자 말했어 논대면 타들이 세다 뻥하셔 그래서
동전 làm cái gì là 동전 có bao nhiêu
동전 có bao nhiêu ta sang chỉ thế nào ta sinh ra được bao nhiêu mà thế mà chỉ riêng là chuyện phát biểu rồi chuyện phát biểu để cho nên tất chỉ đi xa rồi
동전 sẽ đến là lũng gì thuyền để rồi lũng gì chơi thuyền để rồi
동전 có bao nhiêu ta được sinh ra sang chỉ cũng bắt đầu rồi
동전 có bao nhiêu mà ta được sẽ
cái sinh ra bao nhiêu mà thế 이시 소화는 중요도
무슨 뒤로 하시나
그런데 소화 누기 치서도 그 도저 타도 뒤가 말이지
bien 생다랑이 이제부터 왜 왔어
어디 스포트 진짜라니 와 그러니 이제 뭐 토비 타서 뭐 그봐 관계 도와래지
동전
또가 관계 니오면 니나시 너는 뭐
그래서 So from within the Dharma and the Sangha, so Dharma, when we talk about Dharma, Dharma can be divided into two, scriptural Dharma and the realizational Dharma. So then the Dharma is either scriptural Dharma or the Dharma of realization. So then take the subject of the scriptural Dharma. So this is another translation for the subject, scriptural Dharma. Then is a collection of names, words, and syllables, and is not the supreme everlasting refuge. That is the final object of attainment for oneself, because when one directly realizes ultimate truth and attain the final result. So the meaning of this is when one attains the state of enlightenment, then it is an object to be discarded and rejected like a boat.
叫满意的听到这些，你是那光是的老的，这个老的，但是你比较满意的听到嘛的，三级头呢送给错，如果没有听嘛的是嘛子，但是三级如果头上呢送给错的，如果没有听嘛的是，如果有的话，有听嘛的也是，这让你这个特别是，他是不嘛的是吧？三级如果头菜一了，他是对嘛的是对嘛也是了吧？不光是的是对了吧？
longi chue na te rangi te guk yamarwa. So as is no longer needed as a method to attain one's result. So it means that this scriptural dharma is not one's own resultant refuge. So then this is not to say that the collections of Buddha's scriptures are no longer necessary after attaining Buddhahood, but they are not one's resultant refuge.
你说，我讲到这里，你记得老板，我说老板是我两地的，咱你详细爸爸是两地是吧？
详细爸爸
我详细爸爸是两地，这态度会讲嘛？
就是两地的，就是两地的，
就是两地的
啊，
这态度会讲嘛？也是，这两地的让给希望了，怎么他这话是啷个的？真把这世界的这老啥的，对，那不就两地的，老啥的。
아니, 로베 규기, 람덴 추진, 터득게 막 랑기 싱올라, 랑이 제마타다 단 제와.
너는 리나 토마토가 자요 말이지.
방송이 빼셔 나올라 요사래.
근데 너는 세고 땅이도 막 이dim을 도도를 시고. 이dim을 또 짠고. 도도들이. 내가 자와 치죠라. 방식 리 주도시. 내 신지의 집이 진도아.
방송이 빼셔 나올라. 근데 sit double you. That's all. Thank you. That's all. So here is the explanations for the Dharma from within the Dharma and Sangha, right? So here it talks about the scriptural Dharma is not the ultimate refuge. And then here it talks about Sangha are not lamden이나 대한 근초 가장 견둔 공주의 시기어를 로베 교기 람된 최견으로 와이라. 맞아. 대한 단도의 치역이 거라 시기어를. 공다 이네 대에 타도 되구나. 로베 교기 람된 최견으로 대 치역이 거라래. 람된 이네 대 치역은 줘라.
치역이 그게 시작 맞대.
맞아.
로비지 람된 저기 타도이만 이제 시고라.
Yeah. Sorry.
가서 말은 제일 사서 맞대.
맞아.
시시도 뒤져야 된다.
이 담보도 있기에. So we are still within the discussions about the Dharma. So and then another example is the subject. The true path in the continuum of a learner is not an ultimate refuge. Yeah, because it appears whether is not free of defilements, it appears as although is not free, it appears as completely free of defilements. So for their own perceptions, So because for their perceptions, although it is not free of all defilements, it appears as completely free of defilements. Then and although not free from being tainted by defilements, it deceptively appears as free of being tainted by defilements. So here the subject is the true path in the continuum in the continuum of a learner. Then they are not. It is not an ultimate refuge because although it is not free of all defilements, it appears as completely free of all defilements. And although not free from being tainted by defilement, it deceptively appears as free from being tainted by defilements. Today we stop here.
아까 저 부의장 제가 그 뒷tem바 좀 도와줘. 그래서 장가 좀 된지 진실도 막 사실 가는 뒷tem바다 루이즈 제기도 되게 저번에 쇼도 좀 봤어. 어제 라마 사바로 또 도시 가이 뭐 개멜리지도 봐라. 난 자리 유튜브라 간다 만주다 니야 또 봐. 이것도 또디 기대요. 나 대시로 괜찮아요.
We conclude with dedication. We dedicate these roots of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teaching, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long, to have excellent health, and may all their enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread in all directions. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabja Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously without any obstacle. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail throughout the world.
Doge jene doge gewa de na noa kula kange na chepa jizu lozan dama iti bedi mori do se je jo chanchu sen jo rinpo che ma chepa na chi gyu ji chepa nyamba me ma yang kone kondo pewa jo awe chida tenpa dang kundo sambo de ya di shen de te da kunje che so da lo che gewa di da tam je rab du mo tawa rinpo che ma chepa na chi gyu ji chepa nyamba me ma yang kone kondo pewa jo tawa rinpo che ma chepa na chi gyu ji chepa nyamba me ma yang kone kondo pewa jo je som do ju be la chi te se se kan je te yu ngue chan na pe mo te sing ya zo la so wan de so jin de le lu jo ne ben de ma lu ba kan de jong wei sam be yi jin do kan de su me te sing ya zo la so wan de so de xie le lu jo de ma de se ne rang zo lo sang je wa ye se ju ba je rang jan xin yu jia yu ma de be de de me ma de be ge le jo yo zo zo be tu de ren bo je ke da tu be zi je me wa la mi shu se be bo jia de tu me je zhe la ma so wa de be de ma liu ji wei ko ji bo jia ye de na ma je zhu wa ye tian la ji do zhen ba se be mo de bo qi wa qi de yi de ba le ke se qi la dang de de la bo ji le me de be yang de sa be je ke zang de je be do niu jie xin ga de pen dang de wa ma liu ji wei ne jie le se wa ti je jiang zou ye xia be si de ba du ding yu